About yourself. My name is Nysut Khaf Rayay, and I'm a student teacher of the master teacher. And I'll start with a reading called The Real Liar. Now, at this point in time, Pa Wajet, the Cobra, the one with the full knowledge of Hika, secret magical powers, who only whispers the secrets of divination. Tahuti, he is called by some keepers of the records. He was more prudent, cunning, wiser than any living creature in flesh of the simian baboon beasts of Tamaray, which Pa Neb Fatah Shil Pa Nateru had brought from Septet, and appointed it. Was this Tahuti, son of Pa Nadir Ta and Pa Nisdirt Neith, one of many Tahuti, was Wajet spoke with the female Nut of the sky, daughter of Shu, and Tefnut of the air. Breathe breath of life and the moisture liquid circulatory system. So Nisdir Tahuti said to Nut, did a Nisdirtat say, you should not partake of any and all the trees of Hut Ba Fatah? And the female Nut answered Tahuti and said to Pa Wajet, me, myself Nut, and my consort Geb of the ground, earthling, are allowed to partake of the fruit of the trees of Pa Hut Ba Fatah. However, of the fruit of the tree which is in the center temple, Dendera of Edfu, a Nisdirtat, has told Geb, you are not to partake of it, nor are you to touch it, or you will drop dead. Pa Wajet said to the female Nut that Pa Nisdir the best is lying to you. If you partake of the fruit, you will not drop dead. That's a lie. Because Nisdirat only told Geb that lie, because Pa Nadiru best knows the truth, that the very moment you partake of that Pa Mafkuzet, liquid gold, elixir, monatomic gold, that your Ujat, eye, will open up, and your light body, Ak, will activate your Ka and Ba in your cat. And Pa Mafkuzet, the elixir, will transfigure you back into Pa Nataru. And as such, you will recognize the agreeable Nisdiru from the disagreeable Nisdiru. He will have no power you don't have. And when the female was exposed to Tahuti, tree of life, everlasting, and saw that the tree, fruits elixir, tastes good, and intake like food, and that the liquid gold elixir and tree of Tahuti look good, his phallus at the ritual of Pa Nisdir Min, and that Nut's sensual sexual desires to learn even more wisdom of pleasure, she reached out and betook of the ritual of men, and raised the apron of Pa Wajet to reveal the serpent of Tahuti, and betook of the elixir, the gold of the Natharu, its fruits thereof. And she Nut became a personification of the cosmic element and evolved, transformed into a Nebat, or Pa Wabat At, Hatar of On, Anu, Heliopolis, over the skies as she is seen today, mother of all living. What took place when she drank the liquid gold, the elixir of Pa Nadaru? Her physical body transformed, and the process took place. Nut's Bartholing gland on the inside of her vaginal orifice started to secrete a lubricant like mucus, like the vulva urethral gland in Pa Nadaru. This discharge fluid in the liquid gold and is the semen or spermazoa, and Nut, as all females of Earth after her, can produce seminal fluid on their own without males. So, being she was the first to be transformed as a female, she received the mitochondrial DNA, the gene responsible for transferring to the child. It's hereditary. It's from the mother, not the father. From Nut, not Geb. She was first to be transformed into Natharu. So she revealed the best kept secret to Geb, her male part, who was now under her, and Geb did partake of it from her, and was also transformed, and they both knew who the real liar was, for they did not drop dead. And after that, both of them were transformed. Their Ujat acts were open. They realized they had sexual parts and were exposed, as was Tahuti when Nut raised his apron and exposed his Wajat. So they sewed fig leaves together and made for themselves aprons. And Geb and Nut heard the voice of Pa Neb Bes, Shil Pa Nataru, as he was walking in Pa Dendera in the afternoon breeze, and Geb and his female Nut hid themselves from the real liar's presence, Pa Neb Bes, Shil Pa Nidru, amongst the trees of Pa Hut Ba Fatah. And Pa Neb Bes, Shil Pa Nataru, called out for the Geb, and he said to him, "Where are you hiding?" And Geb came out to him and said, "I heard you talking in Pa Dendera, and I became afraid of you because I was nude, and I hid myself from you." And it angered Bes, said, "Who told you about nakedness? Did you betake of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not betake of?" And the male Geb said, "The female whom you yourself gave to me, she introduced me to the tree, and yea, I did betake of it." And Pa Neb Bes, Shil Pa Netaru, said unto the female, "Nut, what is this that you have done?" And the female Nut said, "Pa Wajet Pa Nezdaru Tahuti seduced me, and yes, I did betake of it." And Pa Neb Bes, Shil Pa Netaru, said unto Pa Wajet Tahuti, son of Pa Nazdir Fatah, and his consort Pa Nazdirt Neat, because you have violated our laws and exposed the mortals to our rights and elixir, you will be hated, execrated above all apis bovines, and even more than every living creature of Pa Hut Ka Fatah. On your belly will you go, and gold powder, gold dust will you consume all the days of your life, as the green one of the lower Hut Ba Fatah is your domain, not the upper Hut Ka Fatah. Your shrine is at Pa Re Nu. Your consort is as Tahuti, Pa Nizdirt Ma'at. And I Bes will put hate between you, Wajet Tahuti, and the female Nut, and also between your Tahuti and Ma'at's offspring, and Nut and Geb's offspring. Her offspring will bruise your leadership, and yours will bruise, and how Geb's offspring ends up in the end. Unto the female, Bes said, I will greatly increase your pains in the amount of offsprings. While giving birth, you will suffer much pain and still have sexual desires for your male part. And because of sex, he would have power over you. And to Geb, Bes said, because you listened to the voice of your female part over my voice, and did partake of her elixir of her fruit of which I commanded you, and said you are to partake of it, cursed is the ground because of what you did in sorrow, where you have to get your own food all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles will it bring forth for you. No more easy life in the enclosed garden of the light, Tamareh, and you shall only eat herbs of the field. And the sweat dripping off your nose will you get food to make bread unto you. Die and return to the ground, because you were taken out of it, coated in gold powder, dust, and you will die and return to powder. So Geb called his consort, Hey, because Nut swallowed, as it's recorded, Ray sails in his barge along the elongated body of Nut until Amun Min, or evening, when the disk of Ray's sun approached the mouth of the sky, Nezdirt Nut, to be swallowed. The Ray traveled with the stars, sperm through the hours of night safely into the Nezdirt's body, Kat, at Atum, dawn, the red glow blood of which was called the daughter of Nut. The disk of the Ray is seen emerging from the vulva of the sky, Nezdirt, mother of all. Unto Geb also, his consort, Nut, did Pa Neb Bes Shil Pa Nezdiru make full coats of panther skin or kilt and clothe them. And the Pa Neb Bes turned to his fellow and said, Now, look, the mortal has become just like one of us, the Tharos. He knows who is good and who is evil. And now that he knows I lied to them, he will not trust what I tell him. And he will put forth his hands like a tomb, and raise his own phallus and take hold of the tree of life, and also of his consort, and partake of her, and never die. So because of all this, Pa Neb Bes Shil, Pa Natharo sent Geb forth out of Pa Dendera in Edfu. No more would he live without labor in an enclosed garden of the light. He will have to work the ground from which his flesh was taken. So Bess drove out Geb and placed at the end of at the east of the Indira, enclosed Garden of Delight, at the temple of Hathor in Aruba, Mecca. Evil Nezdertat, who had weapons of Tahuti, the serpent of brass, the brazen serpent full of flames, which they turned every way to keep the pathway to the secret temple of Hathor, where the rites of men was performed on the tree of life. Well, as time passed on, men mixed with mortals and lost their powers. But the women, each month, her body purifies itself and rebuilds her power. So the son of Natharu came to earth to choose from the pure ones who have not lost their power to breed with them. And this is how it was, and this is what must be done if you are to transform to make the trip home. First, the women must be transformed, then she will transform her man. But first, they both must be clean inside and outside. So in time, Geb and Nut begot Asar and Aset, Satuk, Nebhut, and again, Asar and Aset begot Har, and Har begot Happy, and this is the seed of the woman. And that concludes the reading. And now I'll begin the updates. All right. Rawbat Yasar. By 2060, Pakakasu would fade away, and their women will mix in with other races. And due to this, we are affected by defective chromosomes. Now, look at your hands. Is the pinky still close to your other fingers, or is it falling away? You notice this distance more with our elders. 2, we constantly do things that cause our body to morph. We are not supposed to be traveling faster than we can move on our own naturally, because it ages you, because it is not natural nature. Water erodes everything and helps destroy things. How can we get back to natural nature and peace? 3, we are the first generation to have our language and culture, yet everyone is us because our blood is mixed. 4, the first stage of consciousness is to acknowledge who I am. We need to have group marriage ceremonies. Yet in order for marriage to last, we must live in our own rooms and just visit each other and live in the same house. You keep your relationships fresh and yourself fresh. You don't get comfortable and let yourself go. 5, you must get up and walk for circulation, or you will become unbalanced and stiff. 6, proteins. Well, too much of it kills you. Death is a disease that can be cured. How long do you want to live naturally with rejuvenation? 7, your soul weighs 24 pounds, and it can be captured at death and preserved. They will preserve us because of Pa Nabab Yanun. We are with him and he with us. If we love him and not innovate, we are transferring information to transform us to make us eligible to be preserved. 8, the Natharu has no need to preserve. They should have never interfered in the first place. Said it was not their business. There is a mental war going on for the future. 9, the Jawabu are back in the Holy Land. If all of them got along over there, especially since they are really the same people, it would be okay. Yet they are in conflict. 10, in 1914, Tesla had plans to create certain weapons, and he would not give them up, so they killed him. 11, Hitler was trying to preserve the Aryan race and preserve his own by helping them, the Aldebarans. So they promised to take him, and they did. He went to South America, Germany, had many underground bases due to extraterrestrial involvement with Hitler. 12, George Washington met a Pleiadian, and American was supposed to be a melting pot. 13, alcoholism is a disease, yet they won't ban it or label that is caused that the same with cigarettes cause cancer. 14. Prostitution is put in the minds of children by giving a kiss for a gift. 15. General Patton knew what was going on with the extraterrestrials and was going to tell former President Eisenhower. Former President Eisenhower said, you're going to change and not reveal. Patton said, I am American and it's my duty, and he was killed. JFK was another president who felt very patriotic and was going to reveal to the public, and did, to his lover Marilyn Monroe and his brother Bobby and Jackie Gleason, who was a Shriner. A hit was ordered by a certain order, and a former President Johnson was a part, and once JFK was killed, as vice president, he was sworn in as president and was told to keep it quiet, and he did. Nixon was also part and was removed from the Watergate scandal and just took the embarrassment and kept his life. Bobby Kennedy was also shot, and Marilyn Monroe was also killed, found in a hotel in New York. 16. During the Pope visit, he, and President Obama had to go to Philadelphia, which is where the vortex had to be opened for Nanar's exit. And that concludes update reading. Any rereads? Oh. Any rereads or questions?
Robert. The first reading you've done, I was thinking about the Genesis story. I would like to know, could you explain, for those who don't know, who is Geb and Nut in the story? Did the beginning story, the Genesis, did that come from the Egyptian story?
Sure.
Can you explain, for those who don't know, who is Geb and Nut and how that story transformed into the Bible?
Okay. When we're looking at the Bible stories, we have to understand that most of the stories that's in the scriptures came from ancient Egyptian, ancient Sumerian stories, right? But more importantly, the ancient Egyptians. So many people know about the Adam and Eve story, but from which it came was the ancient Egyptian story. So Adam and Eve in ancient Egypt, the correct story would have been Geb and Nut. You understand? So Geb would have been the Adam, right? And Nut would have been the Eve. So the whole story of Genesis, the Genesis story always talks about the serpent coming in and beguiling the female. And they make the serpent look bad. You understand? When in reality, in the story, everyone told, the person that told the truth in the story was the serpent. Even when you go into the Bible. Because in the Bible story, they teach you about God saying, don't touch this tree. Because if you touch it, what he said, you would surely die. Right? But when they did touch it because of the serpent, right, did they die? No, right? And since they didn't die, who lied? Was it God of the Bible or was it the serpent? God of the Bible. So the real story was the serpent was really Tahuti of ancient Egypt. And he was telling them the real deal. He was telling Nut the real story of, if you take that elixir, which was the Mafkuzet, what would happen is you would become like the Natharu, right? Because it was a conflict between the Bestites and Tahuti, right? So in the real story, the conflict between Best and Tahuti was trying to upgrade those mortals and make them Natharus. And in the story, that's just what he did. He told them about it, and they took of the elixir to make them who they are, or who we are today, because they descend down to us. Because when we talk about Adam and Eve, we're referencing Geb and Nut, because those are our Adam and Eve. You understand? So from them goes on to the 4 great gods of Egypt that we know today as Aset, Asar, Nephthys, Setuk. You know what I'm saying? So that's our lineage that we come from in the true story. But the biblical stories was plagiarized. You know what I'm saying? The master teacher always talked about when you're born, you're not born a religious person. You know what I'm saying? You're born into it because your parents are already religious. So you end up taking on stories. So most of our people took on the religious stories of the Bible and thought that that was theirs. And because it resonates with them, because remnants of the story do come from our story. So that's why we put the information out today so that our people could come back home to know this is the true story. from which it come from, because nothing resonates better with you than a story that's really about you and where you come from. You understand? So I hope that answered the question.
Why did they have to go to Philadelphia for Nanar to get out if Washington, D.C. is in Philadelphia?
What's the question?
Why did Obama and the Pope have to go to Philadelphia for Nanar's exit if Washington, D.C. is in Philadelphia?
Okay. According to the update, the number 16, what she referring to, it says during the Pope visit, he and President Obama had to go to Philadelphia, which is where the vortex had to be open for Nanar's exit. Okay. First and foremost, Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia is not the same place, right? And the reason why they went to Philadelphia, right, is because Philadelphia is known for an experiment that we talk about in the Man for Planet Risk, Philadelphia experiment, right? And going back to that experiment, a vortex was open in Philadelphia. You understand? There was a big experiment that took place where they took a ship called the USS Eldridge. And this ship, they wanted to make this ship invisible to radar, but they really wanted to teleport it from one place to another because at the time they already had the stealth ship. They had a stealth plane already, right? So the Philadelphia experiment, Baba put us onto this experiment because this experiment ties into this whole extraterrestrial things. Now, every 10 years, the vortex open. The vortex is a way where, because of the Philadelphia experiment, it opened up a portal that opens every 10 years on the threes, right? So 2003, 2013, and so forth. You understand? So Philadelphia is that point where it happened at. And because that's where it happened at, that's where they went back to go. They went to the particular spot in Philadelphia where the vortex, whole idea of the vortex started on this planet. So that's one of the reasons why they went there, because Philadelphia is a significant place for the vortex.
Hi, Tef. Good to see everyone. My question actually is riding off the young lady's question about the vortex opening and Nanar coming and going. The last time Nanar was here was about 2 months ago, right? According to the news and what we were told. What is the purpose of Nanar? You're saying that the vortex opens every so often. What is the purpose of Nanar coming and going from, this planet and speaking to the powers that be and leaving at those times if he's not for us?
Okay. Well, Nanar, we know that Nanar have his own thing that he does. Meaning, we know him as the scriptures will call him the devil, right? So what happened is he has a job to do. And one of his jobs coming to the planet was to inform his people. Because he came recently to inform the Speaker of the House and the Pope to let them know that they don't have an extension. You understand? Because if you notice, but so often, we're always told that the devil got another extension. They got another extension. Well, this time around, he came to tell his children, which was the Pope, right, and the House Speaker, that they don't have an extension this time. And the reason being is because of the House Speaker Bannon. The House Speaker Bannon was interfering with Obama. Now what happened is, even though things could look chaotic at times, Panatharu was still in control of things that's going on. So when I say that, Nanar is a being that knows that he's not going to win in the end. Even though Panabab is here, he knows that he's not going to win. So he was letting his children know that Obama's purpose of becoming a president, he was appointed that president. He was handpicked purposely. He fit the mold for what they needed. And what I mean by that is this. He was supposed to end the war in Arabia, being that he had that background of being, his father is African, you know what I'm saying? That Muslim aspect. And if you look at his whole campaign, they was always trying to smear him to say he's a Muslim when he's a president of the United States in a Christian nation. But that mixture of him being from here and there, being that he have a mother that's a Caucasian and his father being an African, he had a mixture of the two, just like similar to Enki. If you go back to the story of Enki, the significance of Enki being born, right, is that Enki was part Anunnaki and part the reptilians. So he was able to be the middle person to control or make the deals that's gonna work for both tribes. So now, when they interfered with that situation, with Bannon interfering, he was told that, look, we don't have an extension. And that's why Bannon retired right after that. After that situation with Nana happened, he retired. And the Pope was crying on the screen that Baba said in previous updates. The Pope was crying, and he was only crying because he knows that they don't have an extension anymore. So it's now our time to rule, because we're in the sun cycle. When the sun cycle started, we were supposed to be coming into rulership. But in our cycle, we're not ruling right now. You understand? But little things are changing for us. So Nanar is a being that can go in and out of dimension, because he was one of those beings that can travel interdimensionally. You understand?
Okay. So is Obama consciously aware of his role, or is he completely asleep in what he's doing? Is he consciously aware?
Okay. I wouldn't know if he's consciously aware personally, but I tell you this, from previous things that the master teachers say, when extraterrestrials do come to the planet, they talk to the person that's in charge. So based on that information, I would say Obama do knows. You understand? He knows what's going on a certain level. You understand? Because presidents are privy to certain information that the public don't know. You understand? And if you look at Obama, we had past updates where Baba said that Obama he wasn't helping us at first. You know what I'm saying? And then they started talking about him, and then he started doing stuff for us at the last minute, though. You understand? Because the whole time in his campaign, we put him in there, but he was not helping us. You understand? So he does know.
Rabat. You mentioned about the driving, and before I was wondering, for some clarity, not moving faster than our natural nature. Like when we're driving in a car, then is there like a certain, does that relate to that in any particular level? Because I mean, that's much faster than our natural bodies could run or could move. Like how do we kind of like use that as a guidance for driving in a car, etc.?
All right. When we deal with movement, right? Okay. Dealing with movement, we understand that anything that moves at a certain speed, things happen. If you're moving close to the speed of light, your age slows down. If you're moving at the speed of light, if you're moving faster than the speed of light, you go backwards in time. If you're moving at the speed of light, everything freezes, right? So what the master teacher is trying to let us know is that naturally, for humans, we ain't supposed to move at a certain speed on the planet while we're on the planet. Because the planet itself, we know that the planet is moving, right? And things that move fast appears to move slow at a certain point. For instance, the planet is moving 1,037 miles per hour, but we're not being thrown off of it, right? And that's because of the force that we know as gravity. Gravity is holding us down on the planet. And being that gravity is holding us down on the planet, it keeps us on the planet where we can move naturally in this, circumference of the planet. Now, anything that moves a little outside of the natural atmosphere of the planet can harm you. For instance, being that gravity is holding us down, we at 1G, meaning 1G force on the planet, right? 1G force keeps us stuck to the planet, how we are right now. If we go anything lower than that 1G force, we'll be at zero gravity. At zero gravity, things start floating. You understand? That's why when an astronaut is going to space, they got to go through months of simulation of being in zero gravity force, right? Now, what happens is, what they don't tell most people is most astronauts who travel outside of this atmosphere and come back, they come back sick. Because if you're not functioning at the natural speed that you're supposed to be naturally, things happen in your body. If we're moving in the atmosphere at zero gravity, your bones start to disintegrate. You understand? These are things, your blood start functioning wrong because your body is naturally, your blood flow, everything about your body flows on a natural rate that you're supposed to be on for you to exist in this atmosphere and move naturally, right? So now the master teacher is trying to let us know that the speed, if you're going at certain speeds, it can affect you. So he wants us to move naturally. So he's letting us know these information. Just like if we have to travel right now. For us to travel from here, let's say to Mars, right? Baba talked about our travel to even get home they would have to put us to sleep so that we're not affected in that time, in the time speed of going from one place to another, because you're going at the speed of light. A lot of things can happen going at that speed and affect your body on an even maximum level. If a G-force is just 1 unit from what we are right now and it affects your bone, just imagine going faster than the speed of light. You understand? So it's just to keep us in the natural rhythm of things on the planet. Also, that also ties into with our zero time reference. Prior, Bob the Master Teacher said our zero time reference is 24 weeks. And that's because if you go back into information he taught back in the day, he said your zero time reference began at birth, right? But you're born. We know that at 24 weeks, the baby is fully formed at that point. And being that it's fully formed at that point, that's a natural being at that point. So that's a zero time reference. And a zero time reference to a time other than what we know, because we don't know that actual time. That's just a reference point. You understand? So going back, we just have to stay in the natural momentum and speed on the planet of what we are.
Wu-Sabat again.
Wu-Sabat.
My question is, because I heard Partner Babylon have spoke about when Hikakasut travels, he traveled fast. And when a Nubian travel, we travel at a certain speed, because speed affect our body different. So that's what I was thinking the sister was talking about, trying to figure out what speed should a person that is driving, because Hikakasut get adrenaline when they drive fast and 90 or 100 and something. But when we do that, it does something to our body, our ether cord or something like that.
Yeah, the reason why it does that to us, it affects us naturally because we're two different beings. We're a natural being, and the Hikakasuts are unnatural being. So we naturally are what we're supposed to be. Like the Natharos didn't make a mistake when they created us. You understand? So being that they didn't make a mistake, us as non-ether beings, we function naturally in this earthly realm that we grew in. Now, when you're talking about the Hikakasut, they was a thing made. And being that they was a thing made, they came from us and they are a washed out version of our seed, right? So they need certain things to make them feel what we feel. For instance, for them to feel the soul, the energy that we feel from our soul, that greatness that we feel inside, they have to do things to heighten themselves. They have to drink a lot. They have to bungee jump. All these things that we don't have to do because we already feel naturally like that on a regular basis. So speed for them is something to get them closer to what we feel naturally. You understand? But for us to do that is like we're trying to overdo something that we already are. You understand? And once again, it goes back to just staying in our natural atmosphere that we was created in.
So I came here driving at about average of 40 to 50 miles per hour. Could you answer that question again? Is that speed, 40 to 50 miles per hour, is it affecting us, and how?
Yes, it's definitely affecting you. As we said earlier, it's affecting you, but it's on a minute scale. You understand? You probably won't notice it. Whereas most scientists, right? Because understand that the doctrine is moving into from science and then on a higher level of physics. So when Baba starts talking about speed, we're talking about space-time. We're talking about how things move when it's fast, right? If we was on the ship, right? Or let's say we're on a truck, right? And on the truck is traveling at 50 miles per hour, right? And let's say two people are on the back of the truck. You know the trucks have the long part where you can stand on it? Those people on the back of the truck are playing catch with a ball, right? Now the truck is traveling at 50 miles per hour, and they're playing catch with this ball, right? If someone on the truck has a speedometer, and they're calculating the speed of the ball traveling. As the ball is traveling, their speedometer says the ball is traveling at 10 miles per hour. You understand? The onlooker on the outside who's watching the whole incident, they have a speedometer and chesting the ball that's just been thrown. How fast do you think that ball is going to the outsider? Huh? Anybody? Okay, so what happened is the ball is going at 60 miles per hour to the onlooker. You understand? Because the onlooker could calculate the speed of the vehicle moving and the ball that's being thrown. That's 50 plus 10. That's 60 miles per hour. So this is called what they say theory of relativity. You understand? So in reality, it is moving fast, right? And it is affecting them. But with them being on the back of that car, they're not affected because the vehicle is moving at a certain constant speed. Anything that's moving at a constant speed, the people or anything that's on it don't feel like they're being affected, but they are being affected. You understand? So that person that's on the boat, that's on the truck, they feel like they feel like they're not even moving. When you're in a vehicle and you're driving and the car is driving constant, speed moving at a constant, feel like it's not moving at all. So if you're moving constantly and you pour a glass of water, it feels like normal. But if that thing goes even faster than that or even start to move, then you can feel the turbulence and the effect of what's happening to you. So going back to your question, the speed that you're traveling does affect you. However, because you're on the planet Earth, you don't realize it. You don't notice it because you're not going as fast as the speed of light. You know what I'm saying? If you're going as fast as the speed of light, you'll see it even more. Check this out. Bobby used to say, if you take two twins and you throw one in space, right? One is on Earth. He said by the time the one come back from space, they could have left each other at 11 years old each. They was both 11. You send one to space. When that one comes back, the time could have been as far as 50 years. So his twin would have been 50 years older, and he would have came back looking the same age. Why? Because time, speed of light, affects you. Remember I said, if something's going at the speed of light, right, time slows down for them. And scientists have calculated this on the planet where they know it's true. They took clocks, right? They had a reference clock, and they had other clocks, and they put these clocks, atomic clocks, and they put these clocks on planes. When they put the clocks on planes, they had a reference clock, so all the clocks started at, say, let's 2:30. They put the clocks in the planes and flew them around the world 2 times. The reference clocks, by the time they came back, all the clocks was no longer synchronized with each other. However, it was only minute. So when they came back, the clocks on the planes must have said 2:35, 2:32. Did it actually did the speed of the plane moving affect the clock? Yes. So when you're traveling that vehicle, the speed that you're going is affecting your body, but it's on a minute scale because you're not traveling nowhere close to the speed of light. It's a beautiful doctrine when you think about it. Baba is doing this. He's taking the meek and dumbfounding the wise. If you start realizing what he's doing, Nuapo is not confined. When you go to school, you get confined to information. And what I mean by that, you only become a specialist. You become a specialist in biology. You become a specialist in chemistry. You become a specialist in physics. But you can't fully go around it. You understand? So a physicist can't talk much to a biologist who mastered in that field because they feel like their subject is different. But we know as Nuwapians, they all are the same. That's make you an ontologist, where we know about all of it. You understand? So we could go into any arena and it seems like we know everything they're talking about already.
Yep.
You understand?
Covered it.
Raobat, Zama.
This is coming from the book, The 30 Spirits. I want to read these 5 verses, and it's always been a question that perplexed me, and I would like to hear you expound on it as best you can from what you know.
I didn't hear the question.
The book, 30 Spirits, I want to read 5 verses. Yeah, 5 verses, and I'd like for you to expound on it because it seems like it's a simple question, and it's probably a simple answer. Here's it's starting from verse 7. You must bind the 30 spirits that seek to control you, the very voices of your own Salafu ancestors who lived in the image of the beast and at Tawat death have been trapped in his hell. You must bind them and free them from the realm of hell, that you will free, that you will be free of their whispers into your Abab heart and Akil mind, which affects your very actions each Zamam day of your life. The last verse. The Sawat voices who whisper to your inner mind as to what is best to do. what is right to do and what is good to do. So my question comes from verse 9, which says, you must bind them and free them from the realm of hell. I was just looking for the other verse. If we're trying to free them, how do they help us?
Okay. A lot of times, people who watch the master teacher and the teaching, especially with the books, some people get to a level where they feel like they're beyond the religious quotes, right? But those religious quotes is necessary for the family that's inside of your 30 family members. So as Baba is helping us on the physical, he's also helping your ancestors on the spiritual. Because what happened is they are stuck. Many of them, they passed away. And you know how we learning, don't go to that white light? They went to it. You understand? So Baba is trying to help us to bind them, meaning bring them all together, right? And how they come together is within you, because you're the person that can save them on the other side. And when you get them to get out of what they are, because a lot of them could be stuck on different dimensions, different planes right now. You understand? And being that they're stuck, you on this side, you become like a messiah for your genealogy. And you're trying to help those on the other side and this side at the same time. So the way Baba teach the information or put the books together is to help both your etheric ancestors and us on this side of things. You understand? So he tell you to bind them and help them out of their hell, because that plane over there, when you don't know about the spiritual plane and you end up there because you had to transition, it becomes a state of hell for you because you didn't learn that it's all about the mind, all is mental. So you still attach to certain things that's on the physical plane, and you get, remember when you read the Spirit and Soul book from back in the days, you can end up being on lower planes because of your attachments. You understand? And if your attachments to the physical world is that much, then it becomes hell for you. Because there will be no concept of hell if you didn't have a mind. Because we all say the body dies, but the one thing that live on is the mind. And we say what? All is mental. So our family members are interconnected with us through what Baba called the Sadat, right? In physics, they call this the string theory, right? This is a cord that's connected from you to your ancestors, right? They are connected to us. So everything that affects you affects them. Everything that affects them affects you. They call that in physics quantum entanglement. Einstein, right, like Baba said, who was not very smart to be a chain smoker, right? He didn't believe in the quantum mechanics. He called it spooky actions at a distance, right? And that's because he believed, like many of us on the physical plane, if something can't be proved, if you can't prove it with mathematical calculation, how do you accept it? So Einstein had that mind where he didn't want to accept anything he can't calculate. And he couldn't calculate how one person could be at a million miles away and you're here on this planet and affected, and y'all affect each other. How is that possible? But Baba put it out for us, the etheric cord. He's been saying this for years. We have an etheric cord that connects to us and our ancestors. You understand? And because of that etheric cord, we can affect them. Anything we do over here, we affect them. So when Baba teaches us to chant, we're not just chanting for ourselves, we're chanting for them. When we learn the language, we're not learning it for ourselves only, we also learn it for them. You understand? Everything that we do on this side affects them. Padnatharus are concerned with us because we're their children. What we do on this planet affect risk. You understand? So what they do on their planet affect here, because that's our mother system. You understand? So that's really what it's explaining, that we are connected to them. So we would have to help them and once we help them, right, now they can help us, because it's things about that world that we don't know. A lot about that world is like Baba used to say, Ilion is an illusion to us. And Ilion means what? Illusion, right? So it's an illusion because those are things on the etheric level and we can't see it. You understand? But when you can make that connection through your DNA with your ancestors, and they can now come to you because you helped them, they will now help you. And now you'll be able to see things that's beyond this world. Because when you can make a connection with your grandmother that passed away or your grandfather, you're now connecting on the next realm. And now things that people feel like can't be proven, it could be proven. It could be proven to you because you had the experience. Now some people don't get the experience right away. And that's why Baba has so many spiritual schools, whether it be Sons of the Green Light, AEO, all these schools was to help us get to the point where we can make a connection to the next side. Because after learning so much physical information and you have to eventually make a transition, you need to know some confirmation of what's going to happen on that side. And what would be the better confirmation than a family member that you knew, that translated, that you are communicating to in the physical. You understand? And that's how Baba get his information. He's from a lineage. He can put out so much information because his ancestors are in him. He has multiple, he used to say multiple personalities. If you was connected with your 30 family members, don't forget that all 30 are not agreeable. But once you become a person who can bind the spirit, you can pick and choose the ones that you're going to use. Because don't think that Baba don't have disagreeable ancestors that try to talk to him. There was many interviews he had. He said there's some ancestors that are disagreeable in the back of his mind, but he's capable of not listening to them. You understand? So he's trying to teach us the same way, because when we get to that point where we could really make a link to that side, now we would have to decipher to know, this is where it comes in our doctrine now, know your voice. That means you take the doctrine serious and you learn all the precepts of Nuwapu that they teach us, you take it serious and you know your voice. Your voice should become a new voice, because with Patarak, that's our culture. Baba is telling us simple things, but it's necessary to tell us because we always forgetting. You understand? So he has to tell you love and unity, because he knows after he tells you that, you're going to be slandering your brother or sister somehow, some way. And he got to keep on telling you until eventually you get it. Because he said anyone who's teaching, if a teacher is teaching, he said they also teaching themselves. You understand? They're teaching themselves at the same time. And guess what are Nuwapians? Nuwapians are teachers. We can't stop talking since we started reading Baba's book. And everybody we meet, we talk to them. Oh, you know about this? We want to tell everybody. We talk too much. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's about. We the teachers, so we got to, just push the doctrine. Hope I answered the question.
Rahobat. This was just in reference to the question that was asked about traveling at speeds faster than our natural speed. It would probably be suggested that we travel at the safer, lesser speed limit. So for example, if on the highway it says 50 miles an hour and then it says 35 miles an hour, then it would probably be safer to travel at 35 miles an hour and at the safe legal limit. That means that if we have to leave a little earlier to go to work, but you're saving years on your life. So, just because the speed limit is 55, 65, it doesn't mean we have to travel that. We can get over in the far right lane and travel slower, so, okay.
We have a question over here. Oh.
I have a question about the Philadelphia experiment topic. I can't remember the number, but recently I had myself, internal to myself, concluded that there was a dramatic shift right around the corner, maybe 3 months, 4 months. And that's because I sensed it from within. So I even had an argument with my sister and my wife about this topic all day, okay? I was of the opinion that we had to prepare in the immediate term, okay, for this shift, because everything that we've come to know and that we have established is going to change so radically that we won't hardly even recognize it. I mean, we're not going to be able to refer to a 401k account, okay, or anything of that sort. So you said something in the context of that Philadelphia experiment topic that, at least for me, was mind-blowing, because so many of us, we all heard it, but I wonder, I almost fell out of my seat, because, man, that was powerful information. So I wanted you to explain a little slower at human speed, okay, so that I could comprehend, number one, who the players were, aside from the president and the Pope. And, I'm aware of the Philadelphia experiment. I've been aware of extraterrestrials for some time, and I know they beam in and out of our consciousness and our affairs, but something very significant seems to have happened. I can feel it inside of me. You made a reference to it. I've never met you before until now, right?
Correct.
And you characterize this as a, quote, update, right? Now, I got the update somehow, but I haven't been part of this organization or even, in a temple of this sort in probably a decade, okay? But at the same time, I remain close to it, So please slow down just a little bit so I can comprehend what you were really saying, because it seemed like it was very, very significant.
All right. Understand that we live in a time called now, right? Now is a concept that seems simple, but for instance, time in the future, right, is happening. Time in the past is still happening, and time in the present, as we know, is happening, right? So you have certain beings that can travel at certain speeds of light in order to go from the past and the future, right? So you have a being called Nanar, right? Nanar. Nanar is an extraterrestrial. He's an Anunnaki, right? This Anunnaki has been in conflict with our seed for eons. You understand? He strived to keep us under a spell of sleep. Most of our people are sleeping, and we don't really know what's going on in this day and time. So we have a being that's also an intergalactical being that's amongst us, and that's Panabab Nun, the gentleman you see here on the picture in the back, right? He will be a being that's used by the forces of nature to tell us information that's happening in our time. You understand? So now, periodically, this other being, Nanar, will come to this planet for his seed and updating her. Recently, you must have heard about some stumbling that happened in Mecca, right? Well, in Mecca, they had a stumbling where a whole bunch of people had a stampede. It was a stampede, right? In this stampede, what happened is, what they don't tell on the news is that they was going through a Muslim rite called Eid al-Adha, right? And then Eid al-Adha, what they do is they reiterate, they act out the sacrifice of a child or of animals. Well, it's the reenactment of Abraham killing his son, right? So they kill a whole bunch of animals at that time. Now what happened is, when they was going through this ritual, the blood was seeping into the sand in the earth. And when it seeped into the sand, you have blood-lusting beings who started coming up out the sand. Some was humanoid and some was reptilian in form. When the people saw those reptilian, they was about 7-9 feet tall. They did what anybody else would do in this room. We saw reptilians walk through that door right now. We all gonna be out here, right? You understand? So it was a big stampede. They told us on the news that it was just a stampede and people died. But the people saw something, and this is what they saw. You understand? When the Nanar was on his journey out, there was another thing that happened in Mecca where a crane fell, right? A crane fell and it killed a whole bunch of people, right? And when this crane fell, the master teacher had informed us that that was a craft. The craft of the Nanar was leaving, and as it moved by, it made the crane fall, and that killed a lot of people. You understand? So the Nanar is like an arch enemy to our ancestors and to us. You understand? And being that we're in what's called a sun cycle, you explained earlier you felt like the Caucasian rule is over. Well, their rule is over since June 9/9/99, right? Ever since the opening of the seventh seal. The seventh seal is the point in which a female force of nature appoint a male living being to retell our story. Let us know what's going on in this day and time for us. So we have to be given information that could upgrade us to a level that we're supposed to be on, right? So in doing that, you're still gonna have other beings that are the overseers to other races of people, which is the Caucasian people. They have their own overseers that give them information. You understand? That makes them be what we think is intelligent, because they give them information that no one else had, right? And as they give them information, they will look like they're advanced. Now, when our overseers come for us, or our Warner, Panabarian, he comes for us and he teaches us on the level that we supposed to have information on, which is a higher level than what they have. So because in nature there's a cycle of rulership, right? There's a cycle of time. So in this cycle of time, you have a 24,000 year cycle, right? Now, in this 24,000 year cycle, different races rule within it. So if you took a circle and you cut it and you put an X in the middle and you divide it into 4 parts and you put 6,000 years for each part in that circle, right? You get moon cycle, sun cycle, moon cycle, sun cycle. During the moon cycle, right, certain beings are in rulership. Certain beings got rulership, and certain beings fall into slumber mentally. So during the moon cycle, we as Nagaros or Negroids, we fall into a slumber state, right? And certain other races get rulership at that time. So the Makasu, we always talk about the Makasus having 6,000 years of rulership, right? And that could be calculated scientifically as well, because if you even study melanin, you'll find out that if you study melanin, there's a gene for melanin called SLC24A5, right? And this gene has two types, one called alanine, and the other one is called threonine, or alanine, or A-ala-on, or 9, alanine, or 309. So we was taught in a book that the master teacher put out years ago called The Nambal, in Today, Ontology of Time, that the Makasu, or the Caucasian, their number would have been 3 on a cycle of existence. You understand? That means that 9 is life. When 9 ether dies, it becomes 6. You understand? And when 6 die, it becomes ghosts. So the ghost race, white people, would be the third, have the number 3 according to them for their nature. So their mentality will be 333. 6 ether beings, Dravidians, their mentality will be a higher, 666, you know what I'm saying? And then the Garos will be 999, because we're the highest. Now, if you have to research that melanin gene, you'll find out that the mutated version of the alanine gene is called 3-anine, or 309, right? Now, that was founded to only been around for about 6,000 years. That's just on the genes. So that's already showing you that that particular people was only around for 6,000 years based on genetics. You understand? And then you bring it back to the doctrine and say they had a rule for 6,000 years in the moon cycle, right? So now, from 1970, female forces of nature appointed a male living being to retell our story. This happens every 24,000 years, because this is planet 24. Now, in that time, he has to raise us up to a level so we can take back rulership, right? But in the process of doing that, you have other beings who also want to keep us in the state that we was in. So Nanar being a son of ancient Samaria, you have the Anunnakis, right? And Nanar is the son of the high god of the Anunnakis called Anu, right? He's one of the sons, or son of a son. You know what I'm saying? So Enlil is the son of Anu, and Nanar will be the son of Enlil, right? So now, this son has vengeance to take on us, right? Because he doesn't like us. Matter of fact, they want to take this planet. Him being a reptilian being want to take this planet, right? Because many beings, when they see in this planet Earth, this is a fertile planet. It's a water planet. And reptilians usually live in places where there's water at. So they want this planet, and they've been wanting this planet for years. And he vowed to feast on the seed of the Nagaru by keeping us on a lower mental frequency. But he ruled through his seed, which is an offspring of Caucasian people. Now the Caucasian people are offshoot of another race of people that was ruled by certain reptilians, right? They have overseers called reptilians. And they come from beings called Pleiadians. I know you probably heard about Pleiadians. So the Pleiadians have overlords called reptilians. Now these reptilians was feasting on the Pleiadians. You understand? And in the process of feasting on them, these Pleiadians decided to make a new food on the menu. So they created a version of themselves called the Caucasians of the planet today. You understand? Everything on this planet is a process of seasoning. When I say that, I mean just like when a person cooks food, they season the food. Well, people season themselves by certain things that these beings created to make humans do certain stuff. How do you season yourself? Well, there's certain things in life that we do that changes our whole chemistry. If you listen to certain music, it changes your chemistry. If you hate people, it changes your chemistry. All these things secrete certain fluids in your body. You understand? And this becomes a seasoning mechanism for certain beings for you to be on their radar. And when you become on their radar, they then see you as food. You understand? The scriptures, like the Bible, these scriptures have been talking about these flesh-eating beings for years, but the pastor was never talking about those parts of the Bible. You can Google right now, cannibalism in the Bible, and you'll see all over a whole bunch of quotes where people in the scriptures are being eaten. You understand? What type of God will tell his creation to kill his own child? You understand? These are stuff that's in those books. And these books are really books of the Anunnakis. These was books for them to keep their flock seasoned for the rapture. You know how the Bible talk about the 144,000 rapture? Well, when you hear the word rapture, you can also hear phonetically the word raptor, a reptile. So these people were supposed to be seasoned and prepared for the 144,000 to be feasted on by these Anunnakis, which already happened. You understand? And still is happening in this day and time. You understand? So now, Nana is just you can look at him as a captain of that fleet that comes here for particular reasons. And the master teacher often let us know, because he is one that's also on high, who knows what's going on that side, because he's connected interdimensionally. You understand? So he able to give us information so that he can make us better prepared for what's going to happen or what is happening. Sort of like news. We watch the news, and the news reporters give us information that's supposed to be relative to us so we can go through our day. Well, Panabab Yanun give us information relative to our life so we can go about living our life a certain way so that we're not on the menu of these beings. So he try to give us this path to say, get off of their frequency, give them back everything. That means they gave us religion, give them back their religion. You know what I'm saying? They gave us a way of eating, give them back, because the way we eat today is not an African diet. You understand? So he give us back our culture, because we don't have a culture as a people. When the kidnapping that they call slavery happened to us, the key things that they did to us is strip us of our language. You take a people's language, you separate them. And then they made sure our other people that's also part of the tribe know other languages that you don't know. So we have Nagaros who are Hispanic today, right? Before 1970, there was no such thing as a Hispanic person. It was just blacks who spoke Spanish and blacks who spoke English. You understand? But when they give us titles, they separate us. You got people in Haiti who speak Creole. You got people in Africa who speak many different dialects, right? What these languages do is separates us, and we start looking like we don't think we're the same people anymore. You know what I'm saying? Even in Indonesia, we have people in Indonesia that are African, because even the Asians are from the African stock. And to confirm that, you have the leading scientist in China called Jin Li, Professor Jin Li. He did an experiment to find out where did the Chinese come from, and he found out that the Chinese come from Africa. You understand? Because he thought they was a unique race, but they did come out of the African's gene. So what happened is every race on the planet have some type of connection to the Negroid race. But the Negroid race seems to be at the bottom of the totem pole in comparison to all the other races on the planet, right? And that's because we were stripped of everything. And if you strip a people of everything, what would be the reason to strip one race of people of everything? We must have been some great people at some point. We must have built those pyramids. We must have built those pyramids, which no one liked to give respect to us. But when we talk about Egypt and pyramids, where is Egypt? Some structure that's in Africa that they're trying to say somebody else made it. That's on our land. You know what I'm saying? If it was made in Europe, they wouldn't say, oh, some aliens did it. They'll say Europeans made it. You understand? So them pyramids that no one knows how to build is in our land, in Negroid land, in Africa. So we built the pyramids. And Bible would say we built it without our eyes. And why is that? Because we forgot. So what he's here to do today is to remind us what we did. You understand? Remind us of everything that we did to put us back in the seat of the driver again and not following people. Because ever since the kidnapping of our race, we've been followers. How are we going to be the first race in following everybody else? You understand? As the first race, we had the first language. We had the first culture. You know what I'm saying? We had the first kings and queens, for lack of a better word. But we have titles today where we say this person is the king of Europe or Britain. And there's nothing to equate on our level. We was the first kings and the first queens. You understand? For the lack of a better word, because I know that if we go etymologically, those words mean something different. But for conversation purposes, we was the first of everything on this planet. And then we shared this planet with our offsprings, whether they be Asian, whether they be Caucasian, whether they be Dravidians. And then eventually they seek to take over us, they parents. You understand? And what Dr. York or Panabab Yanun is here to do is put us back in the position that we're supposed to be. And it's not by force, you know what I'm saying? It's by information. Once you give us information, anything that you give black people, you give us a little bit of it, we take it to the next level. And it's proven all the time. If you allow us in any arena and you be fair. Don't give us an SAT test and know that our regular vocabulary in our community is not like the SAT. Of course, blacks are gonna feel it, but if you give us an arena and it's fair, we surpass everybody every time. You understand? We wasn't playing golf, right? We wasn't playing golf. And then Tiger Woods got in there and then what? Took it over, right? We wasn't even playing basketball. A lot of us think that basketball is our sport. It started with us, but when they created the NBA, it was no black guys in it. When they put us in it, we was flying, we was dunking. Now it's considered a black sport, but before it was a white sport. But people forgot about that, you understand? The leading chess player today, when they let us in that arena, a black person, you know what I'm saying? We got leading scientists, Obama's advisor, Mr. Gates, you know what I'm saying? James Gates. We have a lot of things that's going on in our culture in this day and time. And we started everything, martial arts, anything you could think of. There's always us in the beginning of it. But people always cover it up. And then we would have to go and find it. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing of this day and time, to put us back, reinstate us back in the position that we're supposed to be in. And we have a guide that's here with us to let us know what's going on in this day and time.
Wu-Sabat, Zamal.
Wu-Sabat.
Quick question, if we can continue to build on when you were talking about, let's say, the 30 spirits of our Salafu, our ancestors, right? Now, as I read in My Brother the Extraterrestrial, it explains how you and your mate, y'all could be fine, y'all could go through some things, and when y'all see each other again, that initial attraction is prompted. Basically, that initial attraction that brings you together is the current you and the current her. But then after you all copulate or be intimate again, uprises that other something, which was described in that scroll as being that relative that you mentioned, the one who may just not like that particular person or the relatives of that person. Because they're on that other side, they can see past the physical beings, right? My question is, after reading that, and it's not just related to your mate, but anything, what is the originator of the call to your relative to want to speak to you, not just about that, but to want to speak to you about anything? Because if they're on the other side and they may be stuck here due to attachments they had on the earth, right? Is one of those attachments emotion? And being that we share that etheric cord, is it my emotion that's calling them to me, or is it their emotion that's coming to me? And then I hear that voice, because we're trying to develop a psychic self-defense. So what really is the progenitor or the moving force of that emotion either way?
Okay. When you're dealing with the 30 spirits and how they relate to you, understand that based on you, yourself, right? It's all based on how you move in your life, right? Baba is trying to give us information that's going to put us on the frequency that an upright Nagara will be on, right? And that's why he put out so much information. If we live by those precepts of Nuwapu, then the ancestors will come to you that's necessary, supposed to come to you, will come to you. Nevertheless, the disagreeable ancestors will come too. That's why he teaches you this. Like my brother was saying earlier in the book, Bind the Spirit and know your voice. And when you know your voice, then you can decipher when is a disagreeable ancestor. For instance, if you was a person who was on a doctrine, you came on a doctrine, and you decided that you're not going to eat meat anymore. And you do it for a year, right? Then all of a sudden, one day, you feel the tendency to eat meat. Obviously, that's a family member who's from your 30, who's trying to come down and trying to give you thoughts to eat the meat at that point. You know what I'm saying? And you would have to know at that point that this thought is not my thought. This is their thought, and I'm not going to respond to that. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to know your voice, and once you know your voice, you're good. You know what I'm saying? And then psychic self-defense is not that simple, but it is at the same time. The master teacher said this. Simple psychic self-defense is when you are, say the arm sound, right? You know the arm, we all know the arm. If you learn to memorize that sound, right, and know it in your mind, once you know it, at any point in your life that something negative happened to you, you can go right into that arm sound at will. That's a psychic self-defense, so you could get out of it if needed be. You know what I'm saying? So all these mechanisms that the master teacher taught us is to get us to the point where we can control our being, because he knows that we have other family members on the other side that may not be for our best interest. When a couple comes together, oftentimes, because we don't do ancestral acknowledgement anymore, we don't acknowledge our ancestors and who they feel should be in our life as well. Sometimes they don't want that person in your life, right? And because they don't want that person in your life, they try to push them away. Now, you would have to use your non-mind. It could be a situation, you're a Nuwapian, she a Nuwapian. You both doing the right thing. Everything is working, but your ancestors are trying to tell you not to mess with her. You know, don't listen to that person, you know what I'm saying? But now if there's a situation where you're a Nuwapian, you're trying to convert her, right? And it's very hard because we don't convert people. We just put the information and they gravitate. But if you're trying to help her get on the doctrine, and your ancestors are probably like, yo, you're wasting your time, man. She likes the world. You're wasting your time. They probably putting that's probably a message from someone trying to protect you. You know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes you think you could convert someone and they end up converting you. You know what I'm saying? Your ancestors, yes. They still have emotion because your emotions is linked to your soul. And your ancestors, remember the soul that we have one soul, right? We all link to that one soul. So your ancestors on the other side, granted, we not that mixed out, right? Because some of us are in this day of time. They deal with the emotions, you know what I'm saying? And those are the things that make you move. You have to have some type of emotion to make matter move, you know what I'm saying?
Rahubat. I don't mean to keep going back to this, but can you expound on the most recent or current event of Obama coming to New York, Obama, the Pope, and then our sin and the meeting, and Boehner, and them going to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, and all of that. That was in a few previous updates ago. Because I think that's the little piece still missing. The brother, he's trying to put it together. He's seeing that there's still something missing. But I think that's the part where, remember when when the Pope came and he was explaining that, he was explaining to Boehner. Boehner was crying, and everybody didn't understand. They didn't know what all of that was about. And them leaving here, going to York, Philadelphia, which then ties into the master teacher, York, being in prison and going to be released. And he mentioned something about release York or something like that. Did you get that? Well, you can go, you have the part where you can go from when they came here to New York for the full moon, the eclipse, and how he ended up leaving from here and all of that. Do you have that?
You know the date?
They left on the full moon eclipse.
All right. This is a previous update. This one is for November 21st. One that's talking about Obama and the Anunnakis. It says, in Minna, the Anunnakis were given a certain section to come in, and their parents frightened. This exemption is usually for the Saud family only. Then there were presents alert the reptilians or the Bab who came up and asked for a release, as they were to stay in the pit or the earth until the end of this world. Panabab said there was a time while over in Mecca he saw them part the way with who looked like these tall black people that came. When he asked who it was said the tribe of Kedar. However, it was not. It was the Anunnakis, as they are shapeshifters and can take on whatever form. Obama was to bring peace to the Middle East. Certain people in power were told to step down from their position because of their constant interference and racism. The Adamites were given 6,000 years to become knowledgeable like the Anunnaki. The sea, the earth, the air, the science, and medicine, they did not. During the war with Germany, who was in touch with extraterrestrials, they had underground bases, so they were not able to bomb them and shift Japan, which resulted in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was during the term of Eisenhower and Truman, who were looked at as warmongers in the eyes of the extraterrestrials. Once Truman came into power, he asked them for more technology in exchange for bodies. There was a General Patton who did not agree and was stating that it was his duty to inform the American public about the presence of extraterrestrials, so Eisenhower had him killed in a car accident. JFK also felt it was his duty to inform American public, but that's all I got on that. Okay. Any other questions? All right. With that said, we're going to end class. Thanks for coming out.